You know there are nights when you just want to get home, wash your face, and let the world leave you alone. This wasn't one of those nights. Picture me 3 a.m. just leaving the hospital after sitting with my mom. Yeah, the cancer isn't going away. My eyes are still red. Shirt smells like antiseptic and vending machine coffee. And as I pull up to my driveway, what do I see? Some Botoxed suburban nightmare in Chanel sunglasses standing there in the headlights, literally cutting my gate in half with bolt cutters. No joke. She hops out of this brand new white Escalade with two mall cops behind her like she's rolling deep. Flashes me this smug grin and goes, "Marcus, you owe the HOA $320 in back fees. Pay now or we slap a lien on your house by Monday." That's how my day ended. How was yours? I just stare at her, blinking through the exhaustion. "Ma'am, I'm not in your HOA. She actually laughs like I'm a child who just said something silly. "Sweetie, every house on this street is ours now. Easy way or the hard way." And I don't know what hit me. Maybe pure exhaustion, maybe just the absurdity. But I smile, walk inside, and come back with a piece of paper. The look on her face, man, it went from power pink to sheet white in 3 seconds flat. "You want to know how we got here? Grab a coffee. My name's Marcus Hendricks. I'm 58, and after 20 years in Army logistics, yeah, I got out when I realized nobody at the Pentagon really knows what they're doing. I inherited this place from my Uncle Ray. It's 2.5 acres at the dead end of Maple Ridge Drive house he built in '87, my workshop, and a tiny guest cabin I use for vet buddies down on their luck. Uncle Ray, God rest him, paid cash for everything. Never signed a thing he didn't understand and had a distrust of politicians so strong, I think it's genetic. Now here I am, staring down Delilah Whitmore. Everything wrong with suburbia in one well-pressed package. HOA president for 8 years drives that white Escalade like she's the mayor and acts like she personally invented community standards. But my property, I'm literally on the other side of a creek surrounded by oak trees. You cross a bridge to get here. Ray always said, if you're going to build a kingdom, put up a moat. Well, he did. But none of that stopped Delilah. She was in my driveway waving paperwork and rattling off violations. Your uncle agreed to voluntary inclusion in 1994. Properly filed with the county, sweetie. I could taste stress in my mouth. Ray would have burned this place to the ground before joining an HOA. Whether your uncle appreciated community standards or not, you're part of our association now. We maintain property values. We ensure the right kind of people live here. The right kind of people. There it was. The phrase that always comes out sooner or later. You know that one, right? The one that says, if you don't look, talk, or work like us, you don't belong. What's wrong with my property, I ask. She points that manicure at my workshop. Unpermitted structures, fire hazards, unsightly storage. Fresh printed violation notices, 4 years of back fees. Suddenly, it's $4,200. 5 minutes ago, it was $3,200. Apparently, math gets creative when there's a Chanel purse involved. I tried to stay calm. "Ma'am, show me the paperwork. Actual documentation." She gives me her business card, smells like headache-inducing perfume, and tells me payments due Friday. Or we start lien proceedings Monday. As her Escalade disappears down my driveway, dust settling like a curse, I smile for the first time that night. She just picked a fight with a tired, grieving veteran who's got nothing but time and a bone-deep hatred for bullies. Monday morning, I head to the county clerk's office. Smells like old coffee and even older dreams. I need to see the deed for 247 Maple Ridge Drive, I tell the clerk. She pulls up the file, hands it to me, and nothing. Not a word about an HOA. Clean as the day Ray bought it. But here's the fun part. I ask for the HOA formation documents. The Maple Ridge Homeowners Association didn't even exist until 1991. Ray built his place in 1987. You can't make someone join a club when they owned the field before the clubhouse was built. Pretty simple. Feeling good, I head home only to find Delilah back in my driveway, this time with some poor teenager in a security uniform. Mandatory compliance inspection, she announces, clipboard ready for war. This is Chad, our certified enforcement officer. Chad looks about as threatening as a golden retriever in a necktie. "Ma'am, you have zero authority to inspect my property," I tell her. She ignores me, snapping photos, rattling off violations, fire hazards, commercial activity. $500 inspection fee tacked on just for fun. I call the county planning office while they're still poking around. 3 minutes later, they confirm every structure is permitted, even my tool shed. I look out the window, see Delilah pointing at her fancy fence along the supposed property line. And it hits me, Uncle Ray's survey documents. I find the original, trace the boundary, and realize my property actually extends 20 feet further east. 15 feet of Delilah's $3,000 designer fence, sitting right on my land. You ever have one of those moments where you realize the paperwork in your hand is more powerful than a loaded gun? That was me. When Delilah comes back from her little photo shoot, I mention how nice her fence looks. "What does my fence have to do with your violations?" she asks. "Oh, nothing," I say. "Just admiring craftsmanship." Then I make it official. Send a certified letter demanding removal within 30 days or I'll consider it abandoned. Friday morning, city code enforcement shows up. Rodriguez, older guy, probably ex-military. Got some complaints about commercial activity, he says, holding up a stack of paperwork thick as a phone book. Anonymous reports about noise, unlicensed contracting, safety hazards. I could smell Delilah's perfume from 20 feet away. I show him my workshop. He runs a hand over my 1952 Craftsman drill press. "My dad had one just like this," he says quietly. "Between you and me, these anonymous complaints always target the same people. Veterans, elderly, anyone who can't fight back." That's when I start digging. Turns out Delilah's real estate license was suspended 2 years ago. Her husband's mortgage company under investigation for fraud. Court records show they owe $85,000 in taxes. Suddenly, those desperate HOA fees make sense. Delilah calls an emergency neighborhood meeting. Room smells like burned coffee and day-old donuts. PowerPoint slides of my property, red circles around every outbuilding, my workshop, Uncle Ray's fishing cabin, even my firewood pile. Neighborhood blight, she calls it. She actually circles my American flag. Mrs. Patterson, 87 years old and sharp as a tack, stands up. "You mean Marcus, who fixed my steps for free?" "That's exactly the problem," Delilah snaps. Jake chimes in. "He rebuilt my deck after the storm wouldn't take a dime." Delilah's smile starts to crack. That's when I stand up. "Mrs. Whitmore, maybe you should remove your illegal fence from my property before talking about standards." I pull out the survey report, show everyone her fence is 15 feet into my yard. The crowd murmurs. Delilah's husband looks like he's seen a ghost. "That's impossible," she stammers. "Well, I say either your installer can't read a survey or someone's been lying." Next day, Deputy Collins serves me a restraining order. Delilah claims I threatened her at the meeting. "Just doing my job," he says, eyes apologetic. "The order means I can't contact the HOA while she keeps harassing me. So I do what any soldier does, call for backup. Track down Uncle Ray's old attorney, Frank Morrison. Ray negotiated a property exclusion agreement," Frank tells me a day later. "Your land is permanently outside any HOA. The developer owed Ray $50,000 paid off by excluding his property forever. And get this, every attempted enforcement triggers a $10,000 penalty. 23 violations. That's $230,000 plus fees." Around then, my mailbox gets flattened on camera, of course. White Escalade, 11:47 a.m. But that's not all. Someone breaks into my workshop, steals about $2,000 in tools. Grandpa's hand planes Uncle Ray's socket set gone. Rodriguez says, "Get it all documented. It's going to get worse." Mrs. Patterson drops by with tuna casserole and word that Delilah is trying to paint me as an unstable veteran. "Marcus is the best neighbor I've had in 40 years, Mrs. P says, eyes flashing. "If she keeps this up, I'll let everyone know what kind of person she is." She's not just after me either. Everyone who stood up for me starts getting violation notices. Jake's basketball hoop is an eyesore. Tom's service dog barks too much. Delilah's targeting anyone who defends me. Mrs. P mentions the Whitmores are 3 months behind on their mortgage. Escalade almost got repoed. Desperate people, desperate moves. That night I dig deeper. Greg Hamilton, my insurance adjuster, tells me there's a pattern: 12 similar cases across 3 counties, always following HOA harassment. Delilah's even filed fake insurance claims for foundation damage. Fraud, plain and simple. Then comes the twist Frank calls. "Marcus, the agreement includes an automatic penalty. Every harassment incident is $10,000. Based on your story, that's $230,000. Plus, if any HOA tries enforcement, their whole formation becomes invalid." Greg adds that Delilah's fraud is part of a bigger racket: insurance scams, mortgage fraud targeting veterans and elderly. Rodriguez shows me the HOA complaint patterns. Anyone not the right kind of neighbor gets harassed out. I set the trap. Agent Sarah Walsh, FBI, will be at the next meeting as a new resident. Frank wires me up. David Whitmore tries to buy me off $30,000 in cash to keep quiet. He confesses to mortgage fraud, admits they've collected $50,000 from borderline neighbors. I play along but record everything. Saturday night the meeting is packed. Half the county shows up. Delilah, dressed to kill, launches into her PowerPoint, red circles, forged documents, everything. Agent Walsh asks to see the original paperwork. Delilah hedges. I stand up, connect my laptop, and show the real exclusion agreement. Uncle Ray's signature, county seal, everything. The room gasps. That document you just saw, forgery. And every violation, every threat, $230,000 penalty. I click again and there's the recording of David offering me hush money. The FBI badge comes out. Mrs. Whitmore, Mr. Whitmore, you're both under arrest for wire fraud, extortion, and racketeering. Handcuffs click. Mrs. Patterson starts clapping. Soon everyone's on their feet. 6 months later, my workshop smells like fresh cedar and hope. The Veterans Therapeutic Woodworking Program is off the ground. 23 participants, waiting list out the door. Mrs. Patterson volunteers. Jake builds birdhouses. Tom trains service dogs. We use Delilah's violation notices as kindling at the barbecue. Their house sold at auction. Mrs. Patterson bought it just to spite them. The real win. The Whitmore case blew the lid off HOA corruption. 4 states changed laws. New background checks, transparency, criminal penalties for board fraud. My settlement helped fund scholarships for veterans' families, named for my mom, who always said education was the one thing you could never lose. First recipient was a Navy vet working toward her nursing degree. Funny thing, bullies always think they're invincible until the whole neighborhood stands up. The smell of coffee and sawdust fills my mornings, and every new project, every kid learning to hold a hammer feels like a little piece of justice. So here's my question for you. Where do you draw the line? When does protecting your home become a fight for your whole community? Drop your own HOA nightmare below, or share how you stood up to a bully. I read every story. And hey, who knows? Next week we might cover the time a landlord tried to evict a military family and learned why you never mess with people who have nothing left to lose.